We have in the first reading an echo of the very first kerygma. Kerygma is preaching, announcement. It's the nucleus of our faith. And we have phrases of it coming right through in our creed. We will sing in a few minutes' time, Secundum Scripturas, it was there, not once but twice. Dead and buried, it's all there. So St. Paul is going right back to what they are proclaiming and using actually an old form such as kephas, which is the word the Lord himself would have used when he changed the name of Simon Peter. Kephas being stone or rock in Aramaic. With regard to the Gospel, we also have something linked with the sacramental sphere. As in the case of baptism, we have the Apostles' Creed being used in the form of question and answer. So we have still, in the present rite actually of baptism, the rite of opening the senses. Ephphatha, be opened. Praise God, by the way, that we have a new angel on earth. It's a gift from heaven, the first time that, I think it's Cassie Bridget, is here with us in church. And these eventual baptisms, whenever she be baptized, are in fact that very thing. The soul is not, as in the New Age movement being opened up to energies through opening up the chakras, but to the grace of God, which, as St. Paul points out, will only have its effect if we carry on. Because there is that tendency, actually, not only among Catholics, but actually amongst evangelicals, to say that they're saved, that automatically, once they're Christian, they're going to get there. Well, let's be straight about this. It doesn't necessarily follow. One can have the passport, and one can, as it were, not exactly lose it, but not correspond with it. It can be sort of out of date. Because this is what's going on. If the soul is no longer in a state of grace, despite its baptism at death, then it's not going to see that without which one cannot come to glory. I want to zoom into that on this first Sunday of August, getting to glory. Some time ago, through a mystic soul, Mother Eugenia, the Lord wanted to draw attention here on earth to his authority and power, his fatherhood, his creatorhood, and therefore also to the fact that he is the one that we will all have to return to after our use of time. This, in our context, is no longer really faced head-on as it used to be. There used to be, in pious circles, the devotion of the good death, bona mors. In fact, there's an association in France, I think it still exists, the association of good death. It's linked with the souls in purgatory and with Montligeon, the great sanctuary there in Normandy, for helping them. And it was something that used to be talked about more openly. In fact, it was part of our parcel in the monastic world, insofar as we had, in most monasteries throughout the world, the monthly day of recollection, usually on the first Friday of the month, when there would be more prayer and meditation than usual, and there would be precisely the checklist, looking back, looking forward, to see how we were doing, a kind of NCT for the soul. And if one took it seriously, one could see whether actually there was progress or not. It's something also that one finds in the Ignatian school, because the Jesuits had this discipline of meticulous self-examination. They'd even draw up lists, and it was a way of making sure that they were not going back. And it led to a practice, still there in the monastic life, of having 2 examinations of conscience in the 24-hour period. And the timetable was marked with it. The one was linked to the Angelus, 5 minutes of silence on our knees. And in it, it was the particular examination, l'examen particulier, in which one looked at what? Precisely the virtue being worked upon in the month, or the vice being worked against. And it was, therefore, something which would lead to a good confession every week. The other one at Compline, usually actually inserted in Compline itself, or before or after, according to the tradition of the community. Again, a serious pause. I saw what was happening actually in Holland when I was there with the Corinthians of Adoration the other day. They have it too. Complete, serious pause at Compline, and then asking for forgiveness. That's called the general examination, in which one, in French, the expression is le coup d'œil. One looks with a blink of an eye at the whole situation, the flash over the day. What happens is rather like if you put cork in water, it comes up to the surface straight away. So you'll soon at that point see, oh, that bit wasn't very good, I'll make a mental note of it, I'll confess it next week. So it's a continuous looking after the soul, as we will look after a car or a house. It needs to be kept clean and in order. And the whole object, of course, was eventually that when death came, we were prepared. On the clock bell of the monastery of La Grande Chartreuse, you have still on it, in Old French, spelled as it would have been written there in about 1600 or so, a bit after, Le jour du jugement approche, the day of judgment is coming, is approaching, et je compte les heures, and I am counting the hours. Bong, bong. And every time one hears the bell, it is a punctuation mark in the phrase of time. One notch closer. And the old clockwork that in these monasteries still works demands sweat. Every week, one of the brethren has to go in, and it's a whole operation. And the whole massive weight has to be pulled up to the top again. And it works as it's always worked on clockwork. Nothing electric about it. So it's time running out, notch by notch. And that's our day and our year and our life. We can't reverse the pattern. And so, in times of old, when death was closer, when life was shorter, when things went wrong a lot and we couldn't do much about it, it was ever present. And if you go back far enough, you'll find it was very, very present. In 1347, 48, 49, the whole population of Europe was decimated by bubonic plague. It was massive, it was everywhere. There were hardly enough living to bury the dead, and often we had to be put in common graves. In that period, we have literature and artwork coming, which is still with us, what we call the macabre dances. Look at old buildings, especially in Europe, and you'll see them there. You've got skeletons having a dance with, now, you've got in the skeleton world bones and skulls, and on their heads mitres, crowns, and then the pauper's thing, nothing at all dancing hand in hand in the same equalizing mode. Death is the great equalizer, and there is no respecting of persons. And when in actually our monastery in Italy, French monastery, we had maintained all these ancient chants, and one of them, sung in Lent, was probably what came from that period. It's a very powerful, lengthy, plaintive chant, actually with gestures, in the sense that when we came to the threefold holy, Sanctus, very moving, we'd go ad majestate, facing the high altar, we'd change direction, and we'd make this profound bow each time we said it. It was the soul crying out from the abyss. Death was at hand. Media vitae mortis sumus. In the middle of life we are in death. And when reflecting on it, it hit me. You're getting there, you too. Before I go on, I'd just like to pause and quote in part what I wrote when thinking about that mystery which faces us all. I used to tell retreatants in one meditation, go to the graves, sit there for your meditation, and put your death before your eyes and ask yourself, what at this point in my anticipated mind will I have wanted to have done by when I get here? And it's enough sometimes to get them moving and even to respond to a possible vocation. Why? It's the one truth. We can't avoid it. We're all homeward bound. So I wrote this on that. Now listen, it's kind of important because it concerns us all. Media vita in morte sumus, we're in death. When we have travelled on and moved afar, upon the dawns that wake us, take us there where all things have their rest. When this our star that glimmers through our morn has bid us where our solemn evens roam. And we no more have time to rhyme or riddle with our fate, but stand with understanding at the door, to which none came that hasted or was late. What will the droplet of a beam of time that we to ink did dye seem then? And then how will the sound of this once well-wound chime rebound across the closing ages glen? And will there be an hour to look again and wish, half wish, we could 1 hour yet gain? Yesterday, I was listening for about 2.5 hours to a young person who had an awful story, but's doing her best to get out of it. Her partner had not long ago just died young, essentially, of drinking. And I thought to myself, life could go either way. And such tragedy is happening in Ireland right now. Worse than alcohol, usually by now, is the drugs. It's lethal. Now compare that with what only a few generations ago was the attitude to life, especially in a Catholic land like this. I've heard it actually when I was a novice, what the ordinary people used to talk about in the country with regard to anticipated death. They sometimes have an inkling someone's going to die. You've probably heard of what they used to talk about, the banshee. And I've tried to find out what this was about. And I've heard it from more than one, that they used to hear this strange cry, groan, whatever you want to call it. And it was always, they say, correct. Someone died soon after. Well, I want to conclude with this little story, which is specifically Catholic, but is a reminder from heaven that this business is the one business that counts. And all old Nick wants us to do is not think about it. The whole of modern culture is geared towards cancelling it from the equation. Keep them distracted. So listen to this. It was something that happened in Mexico. It was to do with something that a European hermit actually brought there, a statue of our Blessed Lady. It was only a small one and a wooden one. He brought it sometime before the year 1700. Before his death, it was given to a pious native named Agustina, who began the custom of carrying the statue to the bedside of the sick. Now it starts there. And that, by the way, in Catholic countries was a great tradition, watching the dead. It was also the custom for Agustina, upon arriving home, to light a candle before the image and pray for the health of the patient. Something happened. Agustina soon began to notice that the face of the statue became bright and glowing if the patient was going to recover, and would turn dark if the patient was destined to die. In the case of a forewarned death, Agustina would exhort the patient to receive the sacraments and die in the grace of God. That's the one thing that matters. I used to almost cry out to the parishioners in Italy, call us before! It's no use after. So, when the Franciscans eventually learned of the prophetic image, they questioned Agustina about the phenomenon. As a test, they carried the statue to their monastery. One of the villagers was gravely ill, and as the image was brought to the bedside, the sick friar exclaimed, "You are very beautiful, O lady, but very dark." Shortly thereafter, he died a holy death. The Franciscans eventually became custodians of the statue. According to tradition, Our Lady of Santa Anita, as it was referred to, notified the friars by means of knockings or golpes when a death was to occur in their community. One incident is worthy of note. Many years ago, when an elderly friar was ill, his brethren were participating in their daily period of recreation when the sound of shattering glass was heard coming from the sanctuary. They rushed into the church, but found everything in order. They had just returned to the common room to continue their recreation when the sound was repeated. For a second time, they ran to the sanctuary, thinking that perhaps the glass case protecting the holy statue was broken. But they again found everything in order. The sound of breaking glass was distinctly heard a third time, with the same result. It was the Father Superior who declared that perhaps Our Lady wanted to warn the community that one of their members was about to die. They, of course, thought of their elderly confrere who was ill. Entering the friar's cell, the Father Superior whispered in his ear, "My brother, I have a message for you from Our Lady." Holding his rosary in his hands, the old religious replied, "I know already. I am going to die. Just a few moments ago, Our Lady knocked on the door 3 times to tell me." It was usually by 3 knocks the Blessed Virgin warned the friars that one of their brethren was soon to die. Oh, that we had the assurance of 3 knocks. How many go now to the beyond? There might